Martin Popoff from the Contrarians here, back again with another episode of Reliving Old Reviews as a Useless Tool of Confusion. This is our mini show within the Contrarians where we look at an album or a band or a situation or a band inventing a style. I'm mentioning that for a reason here, where you know, it became a legendary situation, but what could the reviewer possibly say when there's really nothing to compare it to? I mentioned that very specifically here because this is one of the main reasons I wanted to do this show, and this is an album that absolutely fits that bill. I have a feeling this review is going to disappoint me because it's not very long. But this is one where I absolutely feel this is a reason for doing the show, because we're talking about Metallica's Kill 'Em All, which I think invented a new style called thrash in July of 1983. I remember hearing this for the first time like it was yesterday, thinking there was a few things about this that are very different from most of the metal I already knew. And obviously, as time goes on, this becomes essentially the very first proper thrash album of all time. I believe that anyways. So we are going to look at a review of that record by the esteemed Malcolm Dome. This is the other reason this is probably going to be disappointing, because he absolutely knows his stuff. Well, that's going to be interesting to see, because he does know his stuff, what he's going to say about this. But yeah, sadly, we lost Malcolm Dome at the age of 66 back in 2021. I only worked with him once. We co-edited a great, a big, nice coffee table book called The Art of Metal quite a few years ago. But yeah, Malcolm Dome, an absolute legend in the business, total metal expert. And here he is reviewing an album that turns out to be the first thrash album of all time. And he doesn't know that yet. Nobody knows that, right? So let's see what he has to say about it. This is in Kerrang, Kerrang number 47 back in 1983. So like I say, it's not a very long review. I don't expect much from this, but let's see what it brings out. So he says, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fastest of them all? Motorhead, Venom, Metallica, arg, Metallica, arg. So that's really cool right off the bat, because he's putting them in the absolute proper context, from Motorhead through to Venom. Remember Motorhead, first band with double bass all the way throughout, the great Filthy Animal on Overkill. Venom, even more extreme than Motorhead, more extreme vocals, thrashier, but just very kind of loose and muddy. So it's not really thrash. Motorhead's not really thrash, but talk about, in one very quick sentence, the opening sentence, putting this in absolutely perfect context, right? Kill 'Em All sets a new standard in burn-up freneticism. Kind of an awkward turn of phrase, but he mentions new standard, so he's right there. Compared to these New York nutcrackers, Motorhead come on like a slow motion match of the day replay. So he's calling them from New York because, remember, Metallica went to New York and recorded in New York and hung out there for a long time. So he's not realizing that they're from San Francisco, right? So that's kind of interesting. Compared to these New York nutcrackers, Motorhead come on like a slow motion match of the day replay. Hell, even Venom have been known to do a slightly slower number occasionally. But Metallica know only two speeds, fast and total blur. So this is an interesting point, because obviously there's some really cool, groovy, standard, traditional heavy metal on this album, although it's recorded with such, hurtful guitars and pretty extreme vocals and barking, angry vocals that it doesn't sound that normal. But the speed is super fast and super precise, and that's why this is a new kind of music. And he's noticing the speed, right? Yet the remarkable thing about it all is that the band do not use high-speed tactics to mask either a lack of power or else a dearth of musical technique. Very cool, because there's a ton of power. That's an interesting point. There's more power than in Venom and Motorhead, and there's a lot of technique. The maxi metal mania inherent within gonzoid tracks like The Four Horsemen, Jump in the Fire, Seek and Destroy, and Whiplash is quite overwhelming. And am I alone in detecting the merest hint of Wildman Nugent influences running through the grooves? Pretty odd to mention Nugent. I don't really notice anything Ted Nugent like, but definitely these guys were fans. No, maybe I should qualify that last statement to read, Metallica are the craziest bunch of bulldozing, bludgeoning warg mongers the American Metal Academy has vomited up since the days of vintage Nuge. He's kind of right there that there hasn't been much great heavy metal out of America. Bringing up Nuge, Nuge isn't really the heaviest thing of all time. Aerosmith's about the same. You got the Ram Jam thing going on. You've also got Riot, who've put out Narita and Fire Down Under. We are up in 1983, into 1983. So there are some heavy things coming along, right? You got the Rods as well. So it's funny, all this Nuge talk. And those lyrics, exclamation mark. Any band who can pen such Dumbo lines as bang your head against the stage like you never did before, make it ring, make it bleed, make it really sore, from Whiplash, have got to be worth dipping into the piggy bank to acquire. This, my fine feathered friends, is Metallis Irresistibilis. Metal up your ass and halfway to, and then brackets censored. So pretty cool. I think he's realizing how heavy this is. But yeah, there's the funny mention of Nugent, but the right on, the line from Motorhead through to Venom kind of thing, and realizing how heavy it is, and the lyrics, how over the top metal it is. So there you go. Another edition of Reliving Old Reviews is a useless tool of confusion, short and sweet review. My review of his review is short and sweet. Let us know what you think of this review, where it fits in context, in history. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Join our Patreon, all that. I can still supply my old Metallica book. It's quite old at this point, but it came out in hardcover. I think I even still have a couple of the hardcovers left, and then it came out updated in soft cover. It's Metallica and Illustrated History. So it's full cover throughout, all that, blah, blah, blah. And that's my only Metallica book at this point. But I did do that Thrash trilogy of Timeline and Quotes books, and I have one copy or two copies of Caught in the Mosh left, and I've got a few of the Tornado, what is it called? Tornado of Souls, 86 through to 91, available at martinpopoff.com. There you go, the great Malcolm Dome, Metallica, kill 'em all.